Today we're going to show you how to change the upper drum glide on your dryer. It's a pretty easy job. All we're going to need is a putty knife, Phillips screwdriver, and maybe a wire brush. Let me show you how it's done. Now the first step in this repair will be to disconnect the power supply. If your dryer has a cord on it, simply unplug it. If it's hardwired, you'll need to find the breaker or the fuse panel and disconnect it. Now if your model of dryer is a stacked version such as this one is, you'll need some help in removing the dryer from on top of the washer. To access that part, we need to lift the top and remove the front panel. With a putty knife, slide it in between the gap of the top panel and the front panel. You'll find a spring clip there. Simply push back on it, release that spring, just lift up slightly on the top. Do the same for both sides. If the dryer is sitting in a spot where you can lean the top panel up against the wall, you can simply do that. If not, we'll need to take it right off of the unit. If you need to do that, pull off the ground wire. Don't forget to reconnect that when we put it back together. Then just lift the top off of the two rear hinges and set it aside. Next, we're going to disconnect the two wire harnesses that attach the control panel to the terminal block. Simply depress the tabs and separate the two halves. Now there'll be two Phillips head screws that come in from the back here that secure the front panel. So we'll need to remove those. Now with the two screws removed, we'll grasp the top on both sides of the front panel, pull forward. Then we'll lift the front panel right off of the base of the dryer. There's two metal clips that hold that. And this is the part that we're going to replace, so we'll need to peel that off of there, scrape any of the old glue off, and then we'll set our new part in place. With the front panel removed, we now have access to the upper drum glide. It runs from here to here, and it's glued onto this metal band here. So what we're going to do is try to get hold of one corner of it, start peeling it off. If you get into a tough spot, just use your putty knife. Now we'll discard the old piece. Now we'll need to prepare the surface so that the glue will stick to it. So we'll scrape off all the old felt using either a putty knife or a wire brush. Now that we've got all of the old felt removed from the metal, we'll apply a little high temperature adhesive. Well, this stuff is quite sticky, so try to keep it in the area that the felt is going to cover and nothing else. There is more than enough in this tube, so resist the temptation to use it all or you'll have a real mess. And we'll take our new felt, position the end snugly against the lower half. Wrap it around tightly. It should just meet the opposite side. Press it firmly into place. And if you need to, you could put a little piece of tape around the two ends here just to hold it until that glue sets up some. Because we want to make sure that it's firmly glued before we try putting it back into the dryer. Just check that felt periodically to make sure that the glue is setting up. And once we get to a point where it seems to be firm, particularly on both ends, we're ready to reinstall the front panel. Now that we have the drum glide mounted, we're ready to put the front panel back on. We'll locate those two tabs on the base. Insert the front panel securely into those. Tilt it back into place, making sure that we keep our harness inside. Now you'll have to lift up on the drum a little bit to allow that guide to slide in place. Make sure it's snapped into place. We're ready to put the two screws back on. Make sure you don't drop these down inside of the cabinet. Tighten those two screws securely. Next, we're going to reconnect the two wire harnesses. Now we're ready to put the main top on. So line up the two holes in the top panel with the hinges. Slide them forward. Reconnect the ground wire. Tilt the top down. Make sure it lines up from side to side and simply press down in each corner. It snaps into place. Reconnect the power and our repair is complete.